Full time here in Aston. I've hot-footed it back to the station because the trains come and go only every hour, and I'd like to get home at a sensible time and probably get a drink down me after what we've seen there. I tweeted earlier saying that I've been left speechless after two Arsenal women games in a row, and for very different reasons. A 4-1 win in Lyon against Lyon on Sunday to reach the second ever Champions League final for Arsenal women, and then crashing back down to life with a 5-2 defeat to Aston Villa. And this will be a learning curve. It'll have to be a learning curve, because if Arsenal are going to have this success in the Champions League, if they're going to compete in all four competitions, they're going to have to manage their squad depth better and build this squad better, because tonight wasn't good enough. There were too many players in there who have probably not played enough football this season. Renée spoke about partnerships afterwards, and I think that was a really good point, because there were too many partnerships that have just not played together at all this season, but also some of the experienced players as well were making uncharacteristic errors. Leah Williamson said maybe Sunday took a little bit too much out of them physically and emotionally. I think that was clear for all to see. It's very easy to say, you know, you focus on one game at a time, but some games are going to be so much more important than others, and Villa were very well placed to capitalise on it. They are a good side. They've underperformed massively this season. You know, you look at players like Rachel Daly up front, Chastity Grant, Ebony Salmon, the experience of players like Jordan Nobbs. Sabrina D'Angelo's not had a great season, but was absolutely outstanding. In goal tonight, you look at the double save that then sets up Villa's counter-attacking goal with Nobbs applying the finishing touch. The players that Arsenal brought in, unfortunately, just weren't at the level required. Lotte Wibben-Moy looked nervous. You know, it was a big ask of players like Kyra Cooney-Cross and Victoria Pelova, and Mariona stayed in central midfield, but the two of them, again, you talk about the partnership, it didn't quite happen. Pelova didn't see a lot of the ball in the first half. Stina Blackstenius didn't really get into the game, took her goal well, but even with the changes Arsenal made at half-time, it still wasn't quite enough, and by the end you're looking at, you know, Caitlin Ford was playing at full-back. Katie Reid is another one. I've got to question the manager there, because she is such a talented player. It's clear for all to see, but you know, I asked Renée about her in January, and she said, well, we see her as a centre-back going forward. That's her future as a centre-back, but she spent her whole senior Arsenal career at right-back. So they obviously don't see her as ready to play at centre-back yet, but they're happy to play her out of position. She's a very good player. She delivered the cross for Alessia Russo's goal, but I think it just speaks of Arsenal's lack of depth at full-back. Jenna Niswanga didn't make the squad. And that means when Katie McCabe comes off, Caitlin Ford goes to left back, and you've got an 18-year-old playing out of position on the other side. Now, for a team that wants to compete long-term in all four competitions, your depth is going to have to be better than that. And I think Arsenal will probably learn more tonight almost than they did, you know, against Lyon, because whether or not they win the Champions League final, if they do, I think we see this game as a complete fluke, a complete anomaly, and one we'll laugh at probably in a few years' time. But Arsenal have got to learn from this. They've got two WSL games left. I'm filming this, it's half-time in the Chelsea game. I think that's 0-0. Chelsea can wrap up the league tonight. And look, it's Arsenal's second league defeat under Renée Slegers. It's their first defeat against a team not called Chelsea in the league this season. You know, they have done very well under Renée Slegers, but I think this is just a glimpse into some of the problems that are going to have to be solved next season. When you have an interim manager for so long who was trying to keep her head down, trying to win each game at a time, she was playing a very settled side, going back to experience. We've had players coming back from injury, but I've always felt further down the line it's going to be a big test for her in terms of squad management, in terms of bringing players in who've maybe not played as much, in terms of rotation, and I think maybe tonight was a little glimpse into that. And defensively, probably goalkeeping errors again, although I wouldn't pen a goal entirely on the goalkeeper. I just think every time Villa broke forward, they looked like scoring. And if you're Lyon, who, like we spoke about in the podcast, disrupted their counter-attacking front three to bring in Hegerberg, and it didn't work, I think if Joe Montemuro was watching that, he will be kicking himself, because, you know, by the second half, you still have Katie McCabe making mistakes, you know, Steph Catley and Leah Williamson being outrun again. And it's something that Arsenal really can only adjust in the transfer market going forward. Renée Slegers said, you know, she wouldn't change the squad she's got. She's happy with the squad she's got. But I think we all know that's not the truth long term. We know there are areas in this squad, player profiles that need to be improved on. And, you know, this game is not the be-all and end-all. It's not the make or break of Arsenal's season, but it's a worry, you know, that Arsenal have come off of being so incredible one night. And then, you know, I think we would have forgiven a draw or a defeat today, but for it to happen in that manner I think that will be a real worry. Renée told me her mind is already spinning in terms of ways to improve that going forward. It's going to be a big learning curve for the future, but Arsenal's defence really worrying. On the transition, it's been a real problem this season. And today, as I spoke about earlier, some of the uncharacteristic mistakes from big players, from senior players, from leaders who've played a lot of football. I spoke about Katie Reid and how I wasn't sure about that selection, but she was far from the problem tonight. Arsenal would dust themselves off, got a few days off now before they take on Brighton, who they've beaten 5-0, I think, and 4-0. Maybe the other way around, but they played them in the WSL and the Subway Cup quarterfinals this season. They've played well against Brighton. Brighton would try and play out from the back. Arsenal are a good pressing side, and Arsenal have had success against them. So probably a decent game to come back with. A few days off, bank holiday Monday down in Crawley, and then only a few days until the end of the season when they'll end it at home against Manchester United. European football not secured just yet. If Chelsea do beat United as I talk, then that will help out Arsenal's case to finish second, with Arsenal finishing the season at home against Mark Skinner's side. So yeah, one where Arsenal have to pick themselves up, one where I think we've learnt a lot probably about the squad, and one where, with a young, not inexperienced manager, I think that probably is unfair on Renée Slegers, but as I say, a lot of learning points tonight, and a game that Arsenal will not want to see a repeat of again. If they do want to compete in these big competitions, you celebrate your wins, but you have to dust yourself off and go again. The schedule is unrelenting. And Arsenal have been dealt a lesson tonight. Massive credit to Aston Villa. Natalia Arroyo's kept them up. They're playing some good football. They have massively underperformed this season, but I thought they were really good tonight. Their fans are excellent. And if you're a neutral, you probably absolutely love that. I know I didn't. But yeah, credit to Villa. And yeah, we'll be off again Monday, bank holiday Monday, for Brighton away, and then finishing the season. And let's not forget, if you need to cheer yourselves up, search in Arsenal 4 and 1 in the Champions League and watch the highlights again, because they're going to be there, and we've got to celebrate that as well. So we will see you next time for Crawley.